Now we'll move on. We're going to go to, I think, the biggest trade of the day, and that is the Miami Dolphins going all in, trading for Bradley Chubb from the Denver Broncos. Interesting because the Broncos did win against Jacksonville. There are reports that if they won, that maybe they would consider keeping some of their free agents, or not their free agents, they're soon to be free agents. But they chose to part ways with Bradley Chubb. They got the only first-round draft pick the Dolphins had for this upcoming year, which is the Niners draft pick. They had their own draft pick forfeited due to tampering, but they still had the Niners first-round draft pick. And just for anyone who's keeping score as well, this is the final draft picks in the Laramie Tunsil trade are now all, or actually, no, sorry, the Trey Lance trade are gone, I believe. They used those draft picks to acquire Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and now Bradley Chubb. Pretty good payout for Miami. They also, 2023 first round pick, a 2024 fourth round pick, and running back Chase Edmonds for Bradley Chubb, and a 2025 fifth round pick. What are your thoughts on the trade for Miami?
I mean, I love it for
Denver.
So for Miami, obviously love it. I mean, gosh, now that Jalen Phillips has been kind of popping over there, Christian Wilkins, Rickon Davis, those guys are more space stuffers on the inside. And they have been kind of playing Melvin Ingram on the other side. He's been solid, but yeah, man, now you get Bradley Chubb, so now you can kind of cycle in Melvin Ingram. He doesn't have to be there as much. I love it for the Dolphins. You mentioned, who knows what's going to, when Byron Jones will get back, if he'll get back all the way. This is an aggressive team that loves the blitz too, so this is just another guy that's can probably win his one-on-one, or even, at least hold his own on double teams. Yeah, I love the move for the Dolphins, because you probably not, who knows? You might, but you may not get a pass rusher of that quality. At that point, Dolphins are realizing their window, kind of like with the Eagles. They've kind of realized this is our window, this is our opportunity to, get as much of assets as we can, maybe, go for the Super Bowl, since they have one of the more talented rosters, obviously, even before this trade. So, love that for them. And for the Broncos, I understand it. I'm not sure what the cap space situation's like, but they just paid Russell Wilson. And like I mentioned before, Baron Browning's kind of, I know he didn't play, he was out last week, but he's been kind of solid for them on the edge. They got a young guy, Nick Bonito, who's also an edge guy, paid money to Randy Gregory this past offseason. So they're probably like, man, it's not looking great this season. We may make the playoffs, even though I don't think they will, but let's just get a few more assets to either use, or hey, maybe they also go ahead and flip, those assets in the offseason if, some become disgruntled, if, DJ Moore becomes a thing. I'm not saying wide receiver, but, some other position of need, some player in a position that they need becomes available, then they can use those assets for that, or just use them in the draft. And yeah, Bradley Chubb probably is going to leave or demand expensive money anyway. So yeah, I would say kind of a win-win here for both sides. I don't say there's like one outright winner, but maybe Miami. I'm kind of the opposite. Usually I go for the known commodity in the player, but I mean, even here at the first round pick, kind of almost a return on investment for Denver. He was a higher first round pick than the Dolphins pick will be, or the Niners pick will be, but nonetheless, get close to your refund basically. So yeah, I don't mind it for either side. What about you?
I like it. I like what Denver is able to do, just because they got draft capital to sort of replenish what they have paid for the Russell Wilson deal, because obviously they had like almost no draft picks after that, and they free up cap space because they gave Russell a massive contract. So now you have cap to try, kind of work with. Also, you signed Randy Gregory to a big deal, so you're locked in with him for the next 3 or 4, potentially even 5 years. I think it's 5. So you're locked in with him. And Baron Browning has been solid. They have some other rotational guys. I think Jonathan Cooper, I think he's one of their edge guys, who's been kind of young and promising. And so they have talent there. So I don't think losing Bradley Chubb is like the end of the world, because they've shown that they have depth. And also, like you said, they're not necessarily looking like they're a win-now team, and Chubb's going to need some money here pretty soon. So I like it from Denver's side. For Miami, I thought that they'd actually have to pay more. I heard that Chubb was potentially demanding 2 second-round picks, or sorry, 2 first-round picks in a potential trade. And they didn't have to do that, so that's good.
They're just driving the price
also,
up,
like we talked about. Yeah, maybe. Also, like I mentioned earlier, this was the final pick from the Trey Lance deal. So that deal is kind of why I tend to value the team that gets the draft picks more, because the Niners got Trey Lance and the Dolphins were able to use those 3 picks to trade back up for Jalen Waddle, and they included other assets. But the first round picks they had were the baseline for trading up to get Jalen Waddle, trading to get Tyreek Hill, and now trading to get Bradley Chubb. So this is the way that you need to do it if you're a team that's ready to go all in. I think this also signals Tua is the guy moving forward, because there was some potential thought that if Tua was not the guy, they could use this pick to try and package something to maybe move up for Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, whoever. They don't have it anymore, which means they're all in on Tua. I don't think anybody's surprised based on the year that Tua's had so far. And with the changing of the guard, it felt like there's been a lot more stability around Tua, so I think that helps too. So we'll see with Bradley Chubb. I don't love it from the fact that I don't know how much closer this pushes them towards being a Super Bowl contender. I do think it helps immediately because they only had 15 sacks on the year, and they do have a promising guy like Jalen Phillips that you said. And I think that adding an experienced guy opposite of him can like help both of them thrive, because that's going to unlock Jalen Phillips' ability to get more one-on-ones and learn more moves and all that kind of stuff and just be better production. And if he's producing, then that allows Bradley Chubb to produce even more as well. So, mutual beneficiary there. With that said, like I said, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's like a crazy overpay or anything. But when you trade a first round pick, it's always tough because you could have used that first round pick on a young edge rusher that could help you, and potentially be a guy that you have on a cheaper contract for the next 4 years. So nobody's going to look back on this and think about this for a while, but maybe in 4 or 5 years, if they haven't won the Super Bowl, we can look back and say this was kind of a failure, but they got a long window to try and make it happen. So I would agree, kind of a win-win for both sides.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Shut Up and Ball podcast. If you want to see more weekly NFL and NBA content, click the subscribe button, like the video, and if you want to see the full episode this clip came from, go ahead and click here.